Members of Parliament, support staff, radio listeners, TV viewers, all following this meeting via social media, members of the media, persons in the tribune here at the Parliament building, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I welcome you to this urgent public meeting for today, Tuesday, April 7th. This is public meeting number 15 of the Parliament of St. Martin. At this time, I want to give a special word of welcome to the Honorable Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labour, Mr. Richnel Brugge, and his support staff. We have established a quorum of 12 members. I invite everyone to stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. I have received notice of absence from the member Roseburg, at which point I wish to pause briefly and extend on behalf of the Parliament of St. Martin to MP Roseburg and her family as they have to cope with a sad and tragic occurrence in their family circle. Hence, MP Roseburg is absent today. Our prayers are with her and her family at this time. Notices of lateness have been received from the members Labega and Peterson. It would be amiss of me, before going over to notifications, not to take this opportunity and, on behalf of the entire Parliament of St. Martin, extend our heartfelt congratulations to all our athletes who participated in the CARIFTA 2026. And it also would be amiss of me if I was not to single out our first gold medalist at CARIFTA, the winner of gold for the 800-meter under 17, Mr. Naja Wyatt. It is a proud moment for St. Martin, of course. And let us all bask in this moment as a country. Of course, we're going to eventually be looking back at some of the things on St. Martin in preparation that could have been done differently. However, at this time, we'll not mar the victory of Mr. Wyatt, which is a victory for St. Martin. Again, our first gold medalist. To him, his parents, his team members, his coaches, each and everyone, and the community of St. Martin that has made the travel of our athletes to Grenada just a little easier. Thank you, whether it was just a good word or a contribution to their trip, it is much appreciated. And I want to say to all of the persons, believe you me, especially the visitors to St. Martin, who on several Saturdays visited the Carrefour supermarket, at which our athletes, before they left for Grenada, were demonstrating the medals that they won already and asking for support for the trip that they undertook to Grenada. And together with those who were there at Carrefour, the young athletes, I made it a point with a mic that was available to me to tell everyone entering Carrefour on those days that those members there would have made St. Martin proud. Today, I therefore am extra proud to congratulate all of them. Just by traveling and participating, they were winners in our sight. Coming back home with gold is the cherry on the cake. Congratulations. Of course, we have I continue with the opportunity for members of parliament to, if they have any need for notifications, to make use of that opportunity. I see we have MP Christopher Wever, and I give MP Wever the floor. MP Wever, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning to the griffier, Honorable Minister, support staff, those present here today in the tribune, my honorable colleagues, and those listening and viewing via whichever media. I too want to extend, on behalf of the USM faction, our sincere condolences and much strength to MP Roseburg on the passing of her cousin. So much strength to her and her family. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Wever. I then go over to MP Lewis. MP Lewis, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to everyone. Good afternoon to the Honorable Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labor and his support staff, my honorable colleagues here, and also to the people of St. Maarten. Madam Chair, I too would like to extend my heartfelt congratulations to Naja Wyatt on this outstanding achievement at the Carifta Games. Him and his brother called me Godfather. This remarkable victory is a true testament to their hard work, discipline, and dedication in this craft. I would also like to give congratulations, especially to the coach, Mr. Abdul Watley, who pushes these children to their best potential. I know when he got them in the gym, I know when he got them on the field, he don't make any type of jokes in missing any lessons when it comes to the sports activities. I would also like to thank their parents as well for the support, to all the athletes' parents for their support in pushing their children, because today it's Naja Wyatt, tomorrow it will be another. On behalf of the people of St. Maarten, I commend Mr. Wyatt for representing our island with pride and excellence. We look forward to witnessing his continued growth and future accomplishments. Once again, congratulations on this well-deserved victory. Congratulations to St. Maarten. Madam Chair, on another note, I'll try to keep it brief. We have a problem in this country when it comes to our ministers. Madam Chair, the Honorable Minister of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sport needs to understand that it is important, the ministry that she holds, is important that you are a people's person, you're a people's-oriented person, especially when you're dealing with students. Madam Chair, we send our students away. We give them scholarships, and we expect them to return. But with the type of behavior certain ministers have, these students ain't coming back. How can we have a student, Madam Chair, that passed at a doctoral level at the age of 27, Madam Chair, and is trying to reach out to the minister, sending emails to the minister, just for a personal conversation with his minister. Until today, the minister cannot even give him a Zoom meeting. Madam Chair, it is nasty, and how you say, she has no type of empathy. Madam Chair, could go to another example. The young man that passed away. I personally do not know the parents. But as leaders in this country, we have to show some type of love. And you're going to tell me the Minister of Education could not find out who the individual parent is to even reach out to them and say my condolences? Madam Chair, right now I'm here talking to you, I have goosebumps because it irritates me and it sickens me with the type of people we have leading this country. And it is time to get rid of those individuals who cannot even show love for the people that they're supposed to serve. It's the simple things, Madam Chair, that counts. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Lewis. I continue now with the members for notifications, and I have MP Lacroes. MP Lacroes, you have the floor.
A blessed morning, Madam Chair Lady Griffier, Honorable Minister and his support staff, those in the Tribune and my fellow colleagues, those listening and watching on social media, Madam Chair Lady, I also, on behalf of the United People's Party, would like to extend our congratulations to the whole team. To my friend Abdul, job well done. Job well done. To the Wyatt twins, I'm lost for words. I saw when he passed that finish line and he bent over, I could have started to cry myself. Because what I saw there, I saw a pride, a indescribable, Madam Chair Lady. Madam Chair Lady, I've always been the type of person that you didn't have to ask twice for support. Those that know me, so I will not elaborate on that. United People's Party have always been behind all our athletes in every way, shape, and form. But I'd like to mention this one thing, Madam Chair Lady, and that is simple. Our athletes should never, ever, ever have to go through again, or ever, what they went through to try to make this possible. To have a lot of now people on the airport who are going to be, yeah. This should never happen again. We find monies for all kind of things. All kind of things. This should never happen again. So congrats to the guys. Job well done. Then Madam Chair Lady, to my fellow colleague, Shamira Roseberg and her family, on behalf of myself, my family, the United People's Party, MP Ottley, we send out our condolences. We know it's a tough time. Things that you just don't understand. One of those is death. So our condolences. And then, Madam Chair Lady, I'd like to thank the Minister for actually coming out today, face the heat, because the fire is on. The fire is on. The country is suffering because of little fights that we can't afford. Everyone there could have been at their jobs. Today they're here for something that should have never taken place. So I'm curious to see how this ends. And at the end, the Minister will hear how I feel about it. Thank you, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you, MP Lacroes. The next member for notifications is MP Doran. MP Doran, you have the floor.
Good morning to you, Madam Chair, my colleagues, the Honorable Minister, his support staff, those esteemed civil servants in the Tribune, and a special shout out to the people of St. Martin that can hear the sound of my voice. Madam Chair, I would like to first and foremost start by joining the train in congratulating Mr. Wyatt on a job well done. I would go beyond to say that this is history in the making, and we have another local living legend. And Madam Chair, what you put in is what you get out. Hard work by the coaches, the parents, and everybody around that contributed in some way or another. And sometimes, even when my children get a good report card, I feel so good. So the pain, the great feeling that I had yesterday, I cannot explain it. SXM on the map, we have our own wave now to ride, and I want for everybody that can hear the sound of my voice to continue to invest in our youth. Because at the end of the day, what you put in is what you get out. Madam Chair, I'll go on to another notification, which I'm still trying to process which words to use and which words not to use with this situation, because it is very unfortunate. A couple weeks ago, March 19 to be exact, there was an accident that took place on the Sugar Garden Road involving 3 officers. You hear so much different stories as to who was badly injured, who was better, who was less. Nevertheless, Madam Chair, last week I was made to understand that one of the officers was in really bad condition still. I'm not going to go here on this platform and discuss personal details. That's why I'm busy filtering what to say and what not to say. But, Madam Chair, I just want to make one thing clear. Officer Kuyers was not home in his yard with a ladder picking coconut and fell. He was in hot pursuit, doing his job, executing his task by the mandate given to him by the government of St. Maarten. When I get to understand the treatment and the manner in which the system is treating an officer that was busy and got injured in the line of duty, I say, God help us all. And I ask myself how each and every one of these individuals who are frontline workers as well, and also all the other police officers, wake up every day and do their job. And I just have to take my hat off to them. Madam Chair, a topic that has come up in the public platform in here by my person, by the union, in different forms and in different ways, is the insurance for frontline workers. Life insurance, accident insurance, all those things. I was told that I'm overreacting because they are insured. Madam Chair, this is beyond politics for me. This is a serious matter, and I hope that those listening to the sound of my voice in the executive branch could take this much more serious, because I cannot understand how today, April 7th, Mr. Kuyers is still laying down in the hospital, can't move, and nothing is being done in extreme pain. That's borderline torture, Madam Chair. From what I understand, different moves and things are taking place in order to facilitate his departure from St. Maarten, but Madam Chair, is a day late and a dollar short. So for me, again, I'm urging the responsible ministers, because it's not one minister, but ministers, to do what it is you need to do, because, again, I'm filtering a lot of the words that I want to use, and I'm going to have respect for this House, but what is happening is not correct. And thank God that I was able to hear about it, but there are many other citizens that are dealing with issues with the SZV, with the SMMC, with all the different bodies that are communicating or not communicating enough to each other, and the victim remains the people, Madam Chair. And I think at a point in time it has to stop. Because when you call SZV, they say no, it's the hospital. When you call the hospital, they say no, it's SZV. And I'm not there in a situation when I go there because I want to be there. I'm there because I have an issue. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Doran. The next MP to speak is MP Irian. MP Irian, you have the floor.
Good morning, Madam President, Secretary General, members of Parliament, the Honourable Minister and his support staff, to those of you in the Tribune, and the people of St. Maarten. Madam Chair, I'd like to first start with giving my condolences also to my colleague, MP Roseberg, on behalf of National Alliance Faction. And on another note, I would like to congratulate the whole Dynamics team, but especially Mr. Wyatt on his gold medal, and also to Isaiah Duzan and his performance in the athletics of the aquatics. Sorry, Madam Chair, and I think the whole island was ecstatic. I saw everyone logged in, watching, sharing pictures, and it just gave us a sense of national pride that we haven't had in a very long time, especially when it comes to winning gold medals on the top level in the running and athletics, to be specific. And I was a bit disappointed when I saw that the government did not contribute in advance. And I'm proud of the people of St. Maarten, the business community, for coming together and be able to put money together to allow these students to be able to get on the podium. But Madam Chair, last year Christmas, or around Christmas time, the Prime Minister himself wrote an endorsement letter for Christmas lights. So an entity could get funding from the business community for Christmas lights. At that time, MP York also asked the Prime Minister at that time, would you do the same for other entities also? So if the government doesn't have any funding, but they had the opportunity to do the same thing they did for the Christmas lights for these students also, to write an endorsement letter to allow them to get funding. With the government backing, I'm pretty sure they gotten funding faster and more. Madam Chair, we sit here today with a government that has taken money without it being budgeted for other events, for parties. But for our students that are going away, we can't find the creative manners and to also support our students. So I thank the people of St. Maarten for giving Mr. White that opportunity, because without that funding, we would not be here today celebrating. But it also concerns me of the priorities of our government when it comes to our students and our athletes. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Aaron. The next MP to speak is MP York. MP York, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to you, the SG, the Minister's support staff, our guests, honorable colleagues, and a special good morning still to the listeners. Madam Chair, I would like to join as well in congratulating the Dynamics team, in particular Mr. Wyatt, but also those that made it as finalists and those that went and gave it their all. Madam Chair, from the beginning since I've entered this House, I've spoken on and championed the importance of backing the orange economy and our sports sector on the island. And Madam Chair, one set of people I would like to really take the time out to congratulate and thank is the community of St. Maarten, because this trip almost didn't happen, and the community stepped up and made sure it happened. And Madam Chair, just a couple of weeks ago, we all sat here and we listened, for example, to the TIAT minister say that one of the main arguments that warranted over $1 million investment into Soul Beach was because St. Maarten made it on TikTok with amount impressions, et cetera, and the exposure St. Maarten got off of that. Well, the one question I would like to ask, with all the exposure that St. Maarten got yesterday and this week off of Carifta, what type of investment does the sports sector warrant? And I would like to leave it right there. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP York. The next MP to speak during notifications is MP Veronica Jansen-Webster. MP Jansen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning to my colleagues. Good morning, Madam Chair, the secretaries. Also, good morning to the Minister and his support staff, the visitors with us here today in the Tribune, and those listening online. I, too, Madam Chair, would like to congratulate the athlete, Mr. Wyatt, for his great achievement. I can tell you I have always been an avid sports person, and I stayed home. One of my colleagues told me this morning, I did not see you anywhere out for Easter. I stayed home and I watched every single one of those games, and I enjoyed it so much, and I was rooting for our St. Maarten team. I want to commend not only Mr. Wyatt, but also some of the other, all of the other athletes, especially the one who I saw with such a good performance on the 100 meters. And I didn't know that St. Maarten had a 100-meter runner that was so strong. And the ladies out there, and the lady athletes as well. Really, really, really good showing for St. Maarten. And I know that when there was difficulty getting funding, some individuals, I can say myself as well, but also our party, the URSM, came together and supported. And I thank everyone in the community, because it's a community effort. We are all here for each other, and we got to come together. And I think now the next step is to help get equipment, the necessary equipment, to assist the athletes so they can be even better the next time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Jansen. The next MP to speak is MP Myers. MP Myers, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, and a pleasant good morning to you and the Honourable Minister and the support staff and my colleagues here in Parliament, those of you listening via any means of social media, radio, television, and to those of you here in the Tribune. Good morning. First of all, on behalf of my faction, I too would also like to join in and congratulate Mr. Wyatt and the entire team that went to the Carifta Games and for striking gold. Indeed, it is a great accomplishment for St. Maarten, and it's always one that we can revel in as a community and say, well, congratulations to him, and I wish him much strength as he continues along this line, and hopefully he will continue to do bigger and better things. I will also like, on behalf of my faction, to extend my condolences to our colleague, MP Shamira Roseberg, for the passing of her cousin. Death is one that is final, and you know, we have to, The going forward is the difficult part in learning to live without the person after they've passed on. So I wish her and her family Godspeed and strength during this very difficult time. And lastly, Madam Chair, there's something I'd like to clear up in regards to the comments made by MP Duran as it relates to the officer that was in the accident. I too visited Mr. Queers along with the minister, and indeed, you know, sometimes your emotions can get the best of you, and in certain cases, we have to let the medical profession, the medical doctors do what they're doing. I know sometimes from the outside, we would like to say, hey, this needs to be done, that needs to be done. It is my understanding that for Mr. Queers, a surgeon is being flown in from the Netherlands to continue his rehabilitation, his surgery. Whether the surgery will be here in St. Martin or Curacao, that is yet to be determined. And then there is another thing that it was said that gives the impression that the frontline workers does not have insurance. This is not true. Mr. Queers is insured. He had a problem. He got in an accident in the line of duty. He is indeed covered. At no point the family is being asked to cover the bill for his surgery. The frontline workers have insurance. So I think it's important that you don't send off those alarms and make it seem that the frontline workers are not insured and there's no insurance that's being provided for them, Mr. Chairman. Madam Chair, that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Myers. With this, members of Parliament, we have come to the end of the notifications, and thus we continue with this meeting. And the agenda points for this public meeting are: 1, incoming documents; 2, deliberations with the Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labor regarding the state of affairs of the St. Maarten General Hospital. This document, this request for this meeting, is registered on the IS 775 and it's dated March 4th of 2026. Thirdly on the agenda, we have deliberations with the Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labor addressing the recent integrity-related allegations within the ministry, including the request for an investigation by the Integrity Chamber. The request for this meeting is registered on the IS 919 and it is dated April the 2nd, 2026. Agenda point 2, that regards the General Hospital, was requested by the members of Parliament Ottley, Lewis, and Lacroes. And agenda point number 3, regarding the Ministry of V.C, was requested by the members Ottley, Wever, and Jansen-Webster. This meeting was originally scheduled for April 1st, 2026. However, the minister was unable at that time and the meeting was rescheduled. Additionally, a second urgent meeting request was submitted for the same minister, and thus it was added to this agenda before us. Before we go over to the agenda points, as this is a public meeting, I just want to remind the members of Parliament that the possibility for interruptions is available, which will be given by the Chair Lady of Parliament, myself, and that will be done in accordance with the guidelines of Article 43 of the Rules of Order. And again, these interruptions are always to be short, so brief. They should seek clarification. The interruptions can also challenge assertions, or if there's additional information to be given by a member of Parliament at any time during the meeting, the request can be made for an interruption. The total amount per agenda point for interruptions is 3, meaning any member would have the opportunity during one agenda point to make 3 interruptions. Members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we go over to the first agenda point. This is the list of incoming documents and the proposal how these incoming documents are to be handled. So what is to be done with the incoming documents? The proposals as to what would happen with these incoming documents is part of the incoming document list. And I look to see if there are any speakers on that particular topic. No, there are no members who wish to speak on the topic of the incoming documents. So it is assumed that the list and the proposals for handling the incoming documents to Parliament are hereby approved. And I'm getting the numbers, just the numbers that are covered in this list of incoming documents are IS 690 to IS 837. Those are the incoming documents registered at Parliament, which will be handled according to the proposals. And this could include be sent to a committee, we could take it for information, etc., or to another meeting of Parliament. So that list and proposal for handling are hereby approved. We go over to the second agenda point for this meeting, and that is, as I mentioned, deliberations with the Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labor regarding the state of affairs of the St. Maarten General Hospital. The letter from the requestors, the members of Parliament who requested this meeting, is dated March 4th. Those members requesting the meeting are MPs Ottley, Lacroes and Lewis, who asked that an urgent public meeting be held to discuss the above-mentioned agenda point. As I mentioned earlier as well, the number of this document is IS 775. At this time, I would like to give the floor to one of the requestors, if so desired, to elucidate their requests. I get the understanding that MP Ottley would elucidate the request for this meeting, to whom I give the floor at this time. So the requester, MP Ottley being one of them, will elaborate briefly on the request for this meeting. MP Ottley.
Madam Chair, with your indulgence, can I elaborate on just both agenda points one time? Then, or it has to be done again?
We'll do it separately.
Okay.
MP, you'll have the opportunity by the next one, which is also a request, to elaborate on that request.
Okay, perfect. So thank you, Madam Chair. Good day to the Honorable Minister, his support staff, and everyone in the Tribune. Madam Chair, the St. Maarten General Hospital has been a hot topic, not only now, not only during my tenure, but has started since 2016. However, it is something that is very much needed in our country. I find personally the transparency with the hospital has been lacking, and especially with knowing that the company, after recently signing what was called the Fourth Amendment contract, is now at the table requesting millions and millions of dollars again, whereby the stakeholders have indicated that they cannot inject any more money. So we will be in a quagmire soon or later, so it's very much important that the minister was brought to Parliament to see what is the update. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Ottley, for that introduction to the request for this meeting. And members, you would note that, and ladies and gentlemen, you would note that the minister is prepared with a presentation on the topic. You will notice that from the screen. And I just wish to inform the members of Parliament that that document has also been shared with the members of Parliament. So the presentation that will now be made. And so now I give the floor to the Honorable Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labour, Minister Brugge, who will make his opening remarks and give a presentation. Minister Brugge, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Lady. Blessings to the members of Parliament, those sitting in the tribune, and those also following this meeting via the different media. Good morning, Madam Chair. Today I would like to briefly address the progress of the construction of the Maarten General Hospital building, a project that is not only technically complex, but also deeply important to the entire community. From the onset, this project has faced significant challenges. While delays are acknowledged, it is also important to recognize the continuous efforts of the St. Maarten Medical Center Board, management, and all teams involved. Despite the many challenges encountered along the way, they have remained committed to moving the project forward and doing their best to bring this essential facility to completion. Especially now, in its final stage, this is a project that matters to every one of us. Healthcare is something we all depend on. At some point in our lives, each of us may find ourselves in need of medical care. The completion of this hospital is therefore not just an infrastructure. It is about ensuring that our community has access to modern, resilient, and reliable health care for years to come. Slowly but surely, the project is moving towards completion, and that progress deserves to be both recognition and continuous support. Madam Chair, I will guide you and the rest of the Parliament and the public through the following key areas. First, the current status of the construction. Second, the timeline and planning. Third, the budget versus actual expenditures. Fourth, ongoing discussions with the contractor. Fifth, manpower on the project. And finally, update from the Colombia visit. Construction milestone. Madam Chair, with respect to the concerns that the project did not reach its highest construction point by December, this is correct. The delay is primarily due to complexity of constructing a modern hospital facility, combined with enhanced structural requirements following Hurricane Irma, including building standards up to 200 miles per hour. These adjustments required additional design and structural work, which impacted the timeline. However, construction has continued steadily, and we now expect structural work to be completed by April 2026. Construction highest point. On March 11, 2026, the project reached an important milestone, the highest point of construction, the roof. On March 26, 2026, the hospital officially celebrated the roof wetting ceremony. This marked the completion of a significant portion of the structural work. It demonstrates that the project is progressing steadily and that major visible advancements are made. The main building. I am here to provide you with an update on the progress of the construction. The main building structure is now nearly completed up to the 3rd level, while work on the 4th level, which will serve as the technical floor, is currently ongoing. The facade is also progressing steadily, and overall, the external structure is developing in line with the planned schedule. As you can see from the image, the 3rd level is almost fully completed, and the top level is actively under construction. Based on the current progress, it is expected that the structural phase of the project will be completed by the end of April 2026. Honorable members of Parliament, through you, Madam Chair, in parallel with the structural work, progress has also commenced on the interior of the building, beginning with the ground floor. Interior walls are currently being constructed, while essential technical systems, including AC installation, are being put in place. Additional work, such as screed and masonry, are also ongoing. As illustrated, on the left, you can see the studs for the interior walls, and on the right, the ductwork for the AC system. It should be noted that progress on the interior will accelerate significantly once the building is fully enclosed. Honorable members of Parliament, one of the more complex components of this project is the installation of the windows, which must meet a 200 miles per hour hurricane-resistant requirement. As this is not a standard solution available on the market, a custom system combining glass, frames, shutters, and structural elements had to be developed. I am pleased to report that a technical solution has now been identified. And with an additional team to be deployed, installation is expected to take approximately 1 month per phase, with all 360 windows projected to be completed by the end of July 2026. Additionally, a mock-up has been installed to demonstrate the water and wind-tight installation of the windows, and construction of patio walls on all floors is ongoing, which are essential to ensure adequate natural daylight throughout the hospital. In parallel, interior finishing works continues to progress. The screed on the ground floor is almost completed, and the initial section of the main lobby and entrance has been constructed. The remaining portion of the lobby will be finalized after the transition from the existing hospital to the new facility, at which point part of the current structure will be demolished to allow for the completion. Honorable members of Parliament, progress is also being made on the supporting infrastructure of the project. Technical Building 1 is currently undergoing mechanical, electrical, and plumbing installation, including systems for electricity, hot water, and medical gases. The structure of Technical Building Number 2, which is dedicated to medical waste processing, has been completed, and interior works have already begun. In addition, cable trenches are being prepared to support the installation of 4 emergency generators. I am also pleased to report that the retaining wall has been completed, including the restoration of the S.O.G. platform. Furthermore, the wastewater treatment plant is already operational and performing effectively, currently supporting the existing hospital. Overall, these developments demonstrate steady progress in ensuring that all critical systems and infrastructure will be in place to support the new facility. This project has been ongoing, as MP Ottley said, since 2016, with construction activities accelerating significantly from 2023 onward. We now expect the structural work to be completed by April 2026, with the building targeted to be wind and watertight by June 30th, 2026, and overall project completion by projected date of 2027, fourth quarter. It is important to note that the project has faced several significant challenges over the years. Following Hurricane Irma, the technical specifications were upgraded from a 160 miles per hour standard to a 200 miles per hour hurricane-resistant requirement, which was necessary for a redesign of critical elements such as the building structure and windows. In addition, at the end of 2018, the contractor entered an EAP process. However, it was determined that continuing with the same contractor was the most efficient option in terms of time and cost. Subsequently, global events such as COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine created major supply chain disruption and increased construction costs. This led to a necessary settlement, formalized as the fourth amendment to the contract, addressing both budget and timeline adjustments. Further redesign efforts took place in 2024, while foundational works continued, and more recent at the end of 2025 and into 2026. Discussions regarding delay and budget adjustment remain ongoing. Despite these challenges, the project continues to move forward with steady and measurable progress. Updating plan. The planning for the main building remains under review due to ongoing discussions and necessary adjustments. Current projections indicate overall completion between mid and late 2027. A revised and more realistic planning schedule is being prepared, with the next version, DTS 16, expected at the end of April or late May. Current target dates: main building, June 30th, 2027, contractor completion of project scope, end of 2027. These dates are provisional and will be confirmed at the end of May. Some of the main reasons for delays are: 1, the building design is complex, typical of a hospital project. 2, permits-related issues arose, but with the support of the Ministry of V.C. and the Ministry of Justice, these are now under control. 3, construction complexity is higher than anticipated, including increased steel requirement due to hurricane and earthquake specification. 4, there was also a sand supply issue that occurred in December of 2025. Current ongoing discussions. There are ongoing discussions with the contractor regarding planning and costs, as the contractor has submitted claim for additional compensation. At this time, St. Maarten Medical Center does not agree with these claims, and both parties are engaged in settlement discussion. While these discussions may take some time, the goal remains to reach a resolution within the existing budget without increasing tariff. Given the sensitivity of the negotiation, there is limited information that St. Maarten Medical Center can disclose at this stage to avoid disruption of the process. Madam Chair Lady, as MP Ottley indicated, this is one of the reasons he requested a meeting. However, as the St. Maarten Medical Center indicated, it is a very sensitive time to disclose certain information. But if Parliament is willing to have a closed-door meeting with the St. Maarten Medical Center so that these details with the negotiation can be shared, that's an option on the table for the members of Parliament. Madam Chair, foreign workers. With respect to the concern regarding the engagement of foreign workers, I would like to clarify that such workers are being utilized primarily for specialized construction activities. Hospital construction requires specific technical expertise that is not always readily available locally. That said, local labor remains a priority, and efforts are made to engage local workers made to engage local workers every way possible. Let me see. Sorry. Thank you very much. Made to engage local labor everywhere possible. A balance must be maintained between supporting local employment and ensuring the timely and efficient completion of this critical national project. Thanks. Manpower on site. Efforts are being made to strengthen manpower on the project, including the engagement of additional foreign subcontractors where specialized skills are required. At the same time, there is a strong focus on increasing local workforce participation to support the work, demonstrating that the project continues without interruption. Currently, nearly 150 people are on site, and the number is expected to grow in the coming months as interior works progress. While foreign workers are necessary for tasks requiring specific expertise, all work that can be performed locally is being carried out by the local workforce. Honorable members of Parliament, with regard to the Colombia visit, on March 4th to 8th, 2026, the Ministry of V.S.A. together with the St. Martin Medical Center and SZV conducted an official mission to Colombia to strengthen St. Martin's healthcare system. We evaluated the quality of care received by our patients abroad, assessed their overall experience, and established direct partnership with medical institutions. We also explore opportunity to recruit qualified physicians to improve continuity of care and identify training and internship opportunity for our local professionals. This mission supports our broader efforts to enhance healthcare capacity and ensure safe, high quality, and cost-effective services for the people of St. Martin. I am extremely proud of that visit. As many of you may know, I am one of those persons that have decided from since the get-go that I was not going to travel too much in order to spend the money wisely. So for me, what meetings I could have done online, I did it online. But this particular trip, I had to go because at the end of the day, it was not possible to do it online. But the things that we got accomplished there, I must say I would not have been able to accomplish it here in St. Martin. I got to speak firsthand with the patients. They gave me their grievances. They gave me their compliments of the service that they received. I also got to visit the facilities, even the educational aspect. Something that amazed me, that I found quite remarkable, is that in Colombia, where students cannot afford to, that have aspirations to go in the medical field, that the Colombian government actually provide the funding for those individuals. I think that's one of those conversations that we are going to also continue to have with the Colombian institution to see if that can also be a possibility for our local persons that are interested in going in the medical field. In closing, Madam Chair, I would also emphasize that despite the challenges encountered along the way, the project continues to progress steadily. Delays and cost pressure are not unique to St. Martin. They are reality faced by large infrastructure projects around the world, particularly those as complex as the construction of a modern hospital facility. What remains critical at this stage is the continued support of the government and all stakeholders to ensure the successful completion of this important project. Our focus remains clear: to deliver a modern, sustainable hospital that goes beyond simply being a building. It must provide the quality of healthcare our people deserve, today and well into the future. At the same time, we must also look ahead to the broader opportunity this facility can create, including the potential of medical tourism within the region. Finally, Madam Chair, it is important to recognize that the successful completion of this project will not be the accomplishment of one single individual or minister. This project has spanned multiple administrations and required the dedication and contribution of several ministers of public health who were part of this process over the years. The realization of this hospital will therefore stand as a collective achievement, one that reflects the commitment of many to improve healthcare for the people of St. Maarten. Madam Chair Lady, this was the end of my presentation pertaining to agenda point number 2. I will now yield the floor for any questions from the members of Parliament.
Thank you, Minister Richnel Brug. I look for the speakers list, and I give the floor to the first speaker on this topic, and that is MP Doran. MP Doran, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to the Minister for the presentation. Madam Chair, I remember sitting right here in 2019 when the whole discussion came up about the hospital contractor and the financial position. Before that, you had VAMED, and then I think it was the UD government then opted to get a new company. I remember the minister took it upon himself. He went to Italy, was very hands-on with this entire project. We were notified, the public, everyone in the world basically that just would open Google knew that Enzo was a bankrupt company and that we would be here in this same situation that we're here talking about 7 years later. I remember my closing speech was, I know that I am right, but I hope that I am wrong and that we don't end up here in the future having the same discussion. Guess what? Directly, indirectly, the same players, shuffle a little bit around, different faces, carrying the responsibility, now trying to convince us that there is no problem. Well, I hope there's no problem, but if there's no problem, we would be much further along because the hospital started about 7 years ago. So through you, Madam Chair, to the Minister, I heard you mention that right now they're in a sensitive negotiation because there's a dispute on the amounts in terms of the extra works. Can the amounts be provided then confidentially? Because, at the end of the day, I wouldn't want to jeopardize this situation, but I still didn't get from the Minister, through you, Madam Chair, that there is an issue. I'm getting the vibe that, everything will be okay, everything is all right. And I think I know better than that. It went from Enzo to Finzo to, I think they changed it to Chinzo, and they're going to continue to change in the first couple of letters because the company had a problem from back then. And they said, no, it's not bankrupt, spade or spade. Spade or spade. Madam Chair, I want to be very, very, very clear. And I always say what I say, don't say what I didn't say. And I'm going to clarify my notification earlier. Madam Chair, I've been busy on this topic for quite a while. I'll go back to even, I think it was a budget 2024 amendment and all, when I talk about the insurance for frontline workers. So in case it wasn't captured a while ago, I'm talking about risk insurance, death/life insurance. They do not have it, Madam Chair. They do not have it because the police officers that had it back then, it expired in the meantime, and the minister sat here in Parliament basically telling me the same thing that MP Meyer said, that I'm sending off alarms that is not true, and the minister came back and clarified, indeed, it is correct, they do not have that insurance. The minister. So there's no trifle in my brain if I have it right or have it wrong. Madam Chair, to take it a step further, I think the good MP could even ask those that are there in the Tribune if they have it. Don't take my words for it. The union president mentioned a couple of days ago, NRPB, March 19, 2026. The union reiterates its urgent call to the government of St. Maarten, particularly the Minister of Justice and Finance, to immediately reinstate full accidental death, dismemberment, insurance coverage for all officers of St. Maarten Police Force. It is not my words. It is the truth. So for me, Madam Chair, again, I'm going to refrain from going the political route because I have a serious concern with what I see happening to the current officer that is in there and how the process is being handled. And I talk about the process and I talk about the system. I didn't say Minister Bruch, I didn't say Minister Tacklin, I didn't say Luke Mercelina, respectfully. I mentioned the system because the system has an issue, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, one thing for sure, I'm not going to be, well, basically I was accused just now of misrepresenting the truth. Again, I urge everybody here to put up your hand if you have death or risk insurance. There's no hands, Madam Chair. Again, I think that it is something of importance that needs to be handled and addressed, and I hope.
MP Myers, MP Duran, with your indulgence, I see MP Myers wishes the floor for interruption. I'll give him the opportunity.
Madam Chair, I want to know on what agenda point we're on, actually. Are we discussing the medical center? Are we talking about the insurance? I'm at a loss now. We had our notifications. We made our comment in the notifications, but the good MP seems to be on a rant as it regards to the insurance. We could have a meeting on that and discuss it thoroughly, which we have in the past. But members have called a meeting for the good minister to be here to request information about the St. Maarten Medical Center. I believe that now we're off topic.
Thank you, MP Myers, for your interruption. Just that the general public and the members of parliament know, I did look at MP Duran and softly indicated to him to stay on topic. That was my comment to him because I realized, of course, he could have asked a quick or give a quick rebuttal, but it can't be as if it would replace the discussion that is ongoing. MP Duran, you may continue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, we are here today discussing the medical center and the service. And I'm talking about the officer that is in the medical center. And if I have to rant for these frontline workers, call it a rant. They're going to rant for you. Madam Chair, again, I'm saying all that to say, my concern is the system. And through you to the minister know that I never call him for something for myself. Every time I call the minister, it's because of a situation between somebody in the hospital and SZV and some kind of miscommunication. True or false? So, Madam Chair, again, if we want to sit from our positions of comfort and don't acknowledge that we have an issue, then I say, God help us all. And again, I'm a representative of the people. You understand? Because I can't feel what Officer Kuyas feel. I can't feel what some people were going by SZV, trying to get their stuff organized feel, because I don't have that situation at this moment. So I'm saying all that to say, we have a medical situation, we have a communication problem, and I just want to make it clear through you to the minister. This is maybe the 10th time or maybe 15th time that I brought this up to the minister direct, and he always answers and deals with the situation on a case-by-case basis. But I just want to touch a little bit, ring the bell a little bit for the ones that do not have the reach to one of us as members of parliament or reach to the minister, Madam Chair. So if it's being called emotional, rant, or whatever, so be it. But I will continue to do that for my people because at the end of the day, that's why we get paid to do. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Duran. I continue, and I have the following member to speak on the topic of the St. Maarten General Hospital, and that is MP Lacroes. MP Lacroes, you have the floor.
A blessed afternoon once again, Madam Chairlady, Griffier, Honorable Minister, your support staff, those in the Tribune once again. It's going to be a long day, so get comfortable. And my fellow colleagues. Madam Chairlady, I first want to thank the Minister for his presentation, and then I'll make one comment before I go into my questions. And Madam Chairlady, I am tired of hearing why something ain't happened. What are the delays? And I keep asking myself, is it the first time that government is dealing with a project of this magnitude? Is it the first time? And because the same mistakes continuously are being made over and over and over. Money's missing. We need this more, we need that more. Prices of material gone up. For heaven's sakes, I can't understand. If I am going to give a proposal to build a building, and I have my list of materials, and the money is transferred to my person for those materials, I am going to purchase those materials right away. I can pick up later, but the price that I'm going to pay is the price that I gave whoever gave me the job. Because if I try to hold on to money, eventually those prices going to go up and I can't purchase those materials. Who's responsible? Who's responsible? Madam Chairlady, the minister indicated in his presentation that the highest point of construction, right, was not reached due to complexity and upgraded standards. So, Madam Chairlady, can the minister specify what exact upgrades were introduced? When were they approved? And who authorized them? The highest point should have reached, by the minister's own words, I think April 2026. What penalties or contractual consequences exist for missed milestones? It's like you ask me to build your house, I paying rent, or you paying rent somewhere, and you can't move into your house on time because I am late with building your house. Is it fair that then you again have to come and pull money out of your pockets? And the minister mentioned that we could have this conversation in private, but I have a problem with that because it's not private funding. The monies come from the taxpayers. And when you're spending taxpayers' money, it needs to be out in the public, every cent. Just the same way we are scrutinized for everything we do, I expect the same from government and the people's monies. So I want a clear accountability structure. I want to know who's responsible and what are the minister's plans, through you, Madam Chairlady, to handle this situation. Otherwise, in 2 years, 3 years, we'll be here again. And someone brought something to my attention. The plan for this hospital was based on the amount of people we have now living in St. Maarten. How much years further are we now? By the time that hospital is finished, it's already too small for us. things take too long. What is the official and final completion date that the ministers committed to today? Give me a date. Give me a date that a hurricane could come and you're going to have it done by that date. So worst case scenario, I don't want a tentative date. I want a date when it's going to finish. The minister noted planning revisions are not approved by St. Maarten Medical Center. Why are we here or revising timelines being presented without formal approval? Who is responsible? The contractor for the timeline, the medical center, or government? Accountability. That is what it's about. So we're talking about an extra 20 million, I understood. What is the total project cost versus the original approved budget? What is the difference? Madam Chair Lady, through you to the minister, can you tell me how much of that goes to the contractor? How much of that goes to the design or the changing of the design? Because I already asked who's responsible for that. And how much of that is because of external factors, COVID, supply chain, etc.? The minister mentioned that the aim is to remain within budget without tariff increases. What specific financial mechanism will ensure this? Because if we couldn't get it right before, Minister, I need someone to explain me how we can get it right now. I want it right and I want it done properly. Then, Madam Chair Lady, there's a discussion between contractor, SMMC. The contractor believes that he's entitled to additional costs. SMMC does not agree. How much value does the contractor's claim have, in the minister's opinion? And what is government's counter position? And when I say government, Madam Chair Lady, because we already see all the little games and everything what's going on, I want to know if these are things that have to go through COM, or is the minister solely responsible? Because when I say what is the government's position, I don't want after that something else pop up and it say that was Minister's Bruch position, not the Council of Ministers that represent government. Madam Chair Lady, through you to the minister, how long is the settlement expected to take? And what are the risks if no agreement is reached? And if this reaches court, is the government prepared to deal with this? Because we have people now going to sit down there waiting to work and can't work because they ain't being paid. So that's going to be a stop, another delay. Then, Madam Chair Lady, what is the projected annual operation cost compared to the current hospital? And what prompted that question is that trip to Colombia. Because I know what it costs to send people away. So I want to know exactly how much that's going to save us. Being able, based on your trip, still curious of a lot of things at that trip, what it brought back. Has the government completed a full operation cost model? So utilities, staffing, maintenance, everything. Give me a full breakdown. And Madam Chair Lady, to the minister and his supposed staff, you don't have to write. Stop writing. Stop writing, because I don't want you to give a short answer because you didn't understand the question. My questions will be sent in writing. I always do, for all ministers. So you could pay attention to what we're discussing. Madam Chair Lady, the minister mentioned that foreign workers are being used due to specialized skills. What percentage of workforce is currently foreign and how much is local? Because some time back, I got a call from a local company that had a problem down there. I think at that point I reached out to the minister. The minister told me A, B, C, D, and then it went away. I didn't hear it again. But I'm still curious. How much of our own are working there versus how much came from outside? Seeing that the Minister of Health is the Minister of Labor. Then, Madam Chair Lady, during the budget, I drew a straight line between foreign employment, immigration, and education. If we have a specialized, skilled foreign employee right now, right there, is that on the list for education? Because what would happen if we go into a different project, we're going to need him again. While we own that we could send away to specialize, and going back to what the minister, what MP Lewis just mentioned, I want to see that. I want to see that our own that go away, go study, come back to work, but that we encourage our students to take up those positions that right now we are hiring people to come in and do. That needs to happen. Madam Chair Lady, when will the recruitment start for doctors, specialists, support staff for this hospital? Because if we wait for the hospital to finish, to start, we ain't going nowhere. It's going to take forever. When will the recruitment start? Madam Chair Lady, I've had numerous discussions concerning the medical schools here on St. Martin. There's one still awaiting to open up, now taking government to court. But we're going all over looking for doctors, while this school, for example, is going to give our students exactly what the minister mentioned. Free scholarships, 10 a year. Waar zijn we mee bezig, is the question. So, Madam Chair Lady, nice words, but there's no cohesion in government, because I am almost certain with the minister's face that he didn't even know about this. That is troublesome. So how are we going to fill a hospital? How are we going to encourage our own that go? Madam Chair Lady, my daughter in her 3rd year. And I'm hoping that before she finishes, that's something in place. Because then I would have to wonder, how am I going to tell her, come back home to contribute to your country? So, Madam Chair Lady, through you to the minister, it's not only about talk. I want plans. Put it on paper. Put it on paper, sign, seal, and deliver. Because as long as I'm here, all I'm hearing is a bunch of talking. And not only from the minister himself alone, but from almost the whole government. Talk, 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 talk. I want action. Seeing where we want to be, when I get a timeline, I'll be able to fill in that date. How many doctors, nurses, specialists do we need? How much I'm missing? Are there any agreements in place with other countries to help us here? I hear Cuba got a lot. We got F.A, Cuba right here. And if I remember well, from being a young man, I ain't too old right now. I don't say nothing. Cuba was always one of those places that we refer to as having the best doctors. Have we any agreements with Cuba, for instance? Because the cost to send our students to Cuba would be a fraction than to send anywhere else. And these things do fall under the Minister of Education, but it's one government. And if it's something that eventually will help the Minister of V.C., then I expect to hear, I brought this up, I did this and this and this, and this is what we're going to do. Or, COM did not agree with it, and we're not going to do it. But the minister needs to do his job. Madam Chair Lady, what is the current financial position of the St. Maarten Medical Center? Has the stress test been conducted for when the new hospital becomes operational? Then, Madam Chair Lady, increased tariffs, when is the question? Is there a future plan for tariff adjustments? And Madam Chair Lady, if the minister would be so kind to send any agreements or MOUs that he made with Colombia, send them to Parliament. Be transparent. Let us know what you went to do and what was achieved. I want to see it on paper. Because then and only then I could do my job, which is hold the minister accountable. And will these MOUs improve staffing, reduce costs, improve patient care? Give me those. And what is the timeline for implementation of outcomes from this visit? 6 months, 12 months? Give me a timeline. Give me a timeline. Madam Chair Lady, I hope the minister could answer my questions today. Seeing they're not too difficult questions, I think. But if he has needs any clarifications to any one of my questions, I'm more than willing to do so. and my staff will forward the questions over to the minister. Thank you, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you, MP Lacroes, for those questions. Members of Parliament, according to the speakers list, I don't have any other speaker. According to the movements in the hall, I just might have another speaker, so I'll await for MP Ottley to sign the speakers list at this time, after which I'll give MP Ottley the floor. MP Ottley, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, to the Honorable Minister, as I stated before, despite what, I know this meeting is a hot meeting, I see by the Tribune, and we all know what's in the news. But when this meeting was called, I once sat in that seat. So this meeting, on my behalf, is not to blame, but lack of transparency. See, what happens is you can change or reshape your future, but you can't change the past. And what I mean by that is, let's dive back to 2016, right here with the signing of the contract. This was before I even dived in politics. You know, we had a colleague, and when it's good, but when it's bad, we have to speak on when it's bad. And the colleague spoke on the essence and the fabric of the Democratic Party. But responsibility is one thing. And one thing that I have learned, and you can go back to any one of my videos, I said it. I was not the orchestrator of this mess, but is what I have to bear with. That is what I don't hear from this government much. What you hear is, but you, but you, but you. I was not the orchestrator, but it's what I had to bear with, because I was there then, through you, Madam Chair. But here we have a signing, everyone smiling and looking good, and all familiar faces signing in 2016, and I want the public to understand this. Because some of you, if you was 10 then, you're 20 now. That's what we're dealing with this government. And then I move later down in 2016, September to be exact, it says, VAMID filed injunction against Minister of V.C. See where we're going now? Say, Maarten, you may ask, what is VAMID? Who is a VAMID? And we're talking about Inzo and Finzo. And before the hospital even got the first brick laid, the first pile driven, anything down in the fence, we had to pay millions to settle. Millions to settle. Already started with a bad taste. Then we have 2017. Theo Hilliger questions the €1 million paid to VAMID. And I said, politics is a strange thing, a very strange thing, because it makes strange bedfellows. And this is why government tends to not last, because we just jump and do things. Then later on, we wonder why. Madam Chair, despite not believing in what is going on, despite knowing that there's an issue with the hospital, in 2018, then we had the famous UD. So still join. And I have here, February 2018, Emil Lee plans to hold groundbreaking for new General Hospital despite lack of finances. Despite lack of finances. So we knew that there was an issue. We knew that there was a problem. Madam Chair, I have here, and I'd like to state that, for the record, I did say 2016. 2018, groundbreaking was supposed to be held. I have here a picture. April 20th, 2021. 1 day before I took office. 1 day. From 2016, this have 0 on it. 0, zilch. Not a brick, not a concrete, not a fabric laid. Matter of fact, what you're seeing here is the crane not even put together. This is the day before I got into office. Madam Chair, a lot of people speak of foundation, just a foundation, just a foundation. August 2022, St. Maarten General Hospital records the largest pour in St. Maarten history, totaling 120 trucks. This was not your typical foundation. The steel used for this foundation cannot even be bought in America. So I say that to say this, with this single largest pour, this was only a fraction of the foundation, to show you the foundation we dealt with. The foundations was to be raised 7 meters higher than the regular foundation of the current medical center to avoid flooding. By the time the end of my tenure, we had a foundation, we had 7 water tanks, we had the tech room, and we had the generator station. Today, we are going up, and I'm happy to see that we are going up. I'm very happy. But again, responsibility cannot be overlooked on the mess that we have. We had something called the Fourth Amendment contract. Matter of fact, let me rewind. When I got into government in April 2021, I had to deal with FINSO. FINSO didn't even have a bank account because they changed their name. That's what we were dealing with. So the drama from INSO changed their name, promised financial security, and didn't even have a bank account. We then had the Fourth Amendment contract. What is the Fourth Amendment? It's where more money was requested, where all parties believed and said, you know what? From an agreement made in 2015 and 16 to start now, you cannot expect nowhere, no how that the amount will be the same. The war in Ukraine has driven the prices at the time significantly higher. But as a minister, I did not play with them. I held meetings every 3 months with deadlines that had to be met. I don't care what you do, how you do it, how much money you want. These deadlines had to be met. And what was beautiful is that the World Bank had to approve this Fourth Amendment to ensure that it was accurate and no fraud was taking place. And it was done, and it was approved. Now today, there's a request for 20 million more. Minister, I do not expect you to sit and discuss financials. You have to separate yourself. But what I do expect you to sit and say, I don't care what you are saying. You have an agreement, and I want this done by this time. That is how you deal with them. Get it done. You are holding back the country, and unfortunately, they will not sit here. You will. And ironic, I listen to press briefings, and I look at the motion that's sent home immediately, and one of the main points were by your leader and your prime minister and your colleague was the General Hospital and the handling of it, through you, Madam Chair. One of the main points. And then today, I look and I said, Luke Mercelina was correct. Then I listened to press briefing, and he says, well, thank you to immediately we have a hospital today. He thanks him. Politics makes strange bedfellows. And when we do that for the sake of keeping people out, we have chaos in our country. That's what we are facing today in St. Maarten. Chaos. I have never seen nothing like this in my life. Nothing like this in my life. I have never seen infight like this in my life. And it's not only through yourself and your prime minister. I have seen it with the Democratic Party as well. The Minister of Finance and the Minister of TEA. Public fighting. I have seen it. Madam Chair, to the Honorable Minister of ASI, I see where you're trying. But accountability and taking control is what I don't see. That is what I'm missing. I'm missing assertion. It may be your character to be, but I'm missing that assertion. And if you don't do that, they will use this against you. I see that recently 50 persons were brought in. We have 150 persons on the site currently. How many of them are locals? And I can understand what we're going through, but my question then is, what happened to the job fair? Because when I was there, ain't no way you get in people without doing the job fair. And that was the issue. Look at the airport. Airport was a success because I had no issue with that company that had the airport project. They did job fairs upon job fairs, and hundreds of locals were there. And then guess what? Because they did that, they got their papers within an ease, with a breeze, rapidly. And as Minister of Labor, the hospital fell under this important project as well, where there would be a rapid permit procedure process. But you had to do one thing: ensure you have utilized all your resource to hire locally first. And I don't see that from them. Don't let them take you for a ride through you, Madam Chair. And I have offered to you, through you, Madam Chair, Minister, to sit down, to assist, to help with low-hanging fruits. See my colleague right here? He shined as a minister. Batman. You know what he says? I learned from Minister Ottley, low-hanging fruits. First thing I did is sit with the staff and say, what do you have done? What did you have to do? And that's all that I was trying to share with you. And unfortunately, I never got a call, I never got a response. As a matter of fact, through you, Madam Chair, you asked me for what? Ain't true? Okay. But not, okay, we're not going to go back and forth through you, Madam Chair. But you asked me for what? At the opening ceremony at Parliament in the brick building. I can remember right there, standing there, my colleague was next to me. But you know what's crazy is I never got a call, but I get a call now. I never got the call, but I got a call now to meet. A call now to talk. See how the world is wrong? All I was offering was my support. Opposition or not, I was offering my support. There are many things at the desk, Madam Chair. We speak on how we can generate money. Matter of fact, does the government or SZV owe the hospital money? I would like to know that. We speak about generating funds. Madam Chair, on the desk of the minister, with the advice of the Council of Advice, is the SFA 1B, which deals with health insurance for taxi drivers and sole proprietors. Those are the little things that I was offering. I don't know it all. I didn't know it all. I wasn't perfect. But we could have helped each other. According to my colleague before me, the call now is a day late and a dollar short. That's the reality of it. Madam Chair, I have a couple of questions. I asked about the payment due from SZV and government. What is owed from SZV and government to the St. Martin Medical Hospital? I know that there was an issue with SLS. There was no room for them in the design. Has that been changed? That was an ongoing discussion. I asked the question about the workers on site. Minister, how often do you meet with FINZO, through you, Madam Chair, with FINZO and SMMC? How often? Quarterly, half a year, how often? When was your last meeting with FINZO and SMMC? What is the opinion of the board? We often skip the board. The board is very important. What is the opinion on the board of what is owed? Or what is claimed to be owed or requested from FINZO? So let me rephrase that question. What is the impression of the board on what is being requested from FINZO? We're hearing different amounts in the media. What is the amount that FinZo is currently asking for? And what is the amount that SMMC agrees? An example, and I said it publicly right here as a minister, during my tenure, FinZo was asking for 40 million, and while SMMC agreed that there wasn't inflation, they said, no, we believe it should be like 20. And then an agreement was met. Also, to help with that agreement, there was new redesigns in the structure. Is there any new or any proposals to redesigns or to cut anything? Madam Chair, I heard the minister speak about his trip to Colombia through you and the possibilities, just like Colombia does, if people want to study in the medical field, they would fund it. And these are opportunities for us. When I was there was also an opportunity for a school in Santo Domingo that wanted to take our students as well. The problem we have is this big legislation. And that is the biggest problem. And until we deal with that, we often hear the same song. We send people to Colombia, we send people to Santo Domingo, but yet we can't take those doctors. So we're working in a silo that don't make sense. So my question to you is, what is the update with the big legislation? Who does the big legislation fall under? Who is currently working on the big legislation? When is the timeline that this big legislation is expected to be done? In the meantime, in between time, what is being done to facilitate and enhance the SMMC while we wait on the St. Maarten General Hospital? See, again, while the project was going on, we did what? We had 5 double rooms, 2 operational rooms, open MRI room, an oncology center. So what is the plans now to keep us going while we wait on the St. Maarten General Hospital? Madam Chair, I had to go back in the past because, again, Minister, you're dealing with things that you inherited. I want to make that clear. But again, my message to you is the message I used to say. You may not have created it, but it's what you're faced with. You were entrusted by your coalition to sit there and handle the people's business, and that is what it is at this moment. We're not passing the buck or playing the blame game. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Give us real, direct answers. Not that everything is going to be okay. Because one thing we learned with social media, everything is recorded today. So when that deadline comes, I just have to go back and play the tape again. Every single thing will be recorded. Be assertive. I don't know what the future holds. But if we manage to survive it, be assertive. Do not let them take you for a ride. I know the games that they try to play. Do not allow it. I'm begging you for the sake of St. Maarten. Oh, very important. What is the update on the DCHA, Dutch Caribbean Hospital Alliance? What is the update? This was an agreement signed, I would like to know. I'm not really hearing anything, so this is very important for us because what is this agreement? For those who may not know, is where we make an agreement within the Caribbean and certain expertise will be divided and it can help us. And if so, what will be the expertise where people will send people to St. Maarten to do? Thank you, Madam Chair. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you, MP Ottley. Members, according to the speakers list, this would be the last speaker on this topic. I give MP Lewis the floor. MP Lewis, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. It's now afternoon. Yes, it's my time, so I'll take my time and make sure I have everything correct. So good afternoon to all that is tuned into this public meeting. Madam Chair, I've sat and I've listened to my colleagues, especially the two colleagues before me, namely MP Ottley and MP Lacroes. I must attest, though, Madam Chair, through you, that Minister Brugge has a great public presence to the people he serves, and I applaud that. But, Madam Chair, I'll reiterate what I've said in many meetings in Parliament. My job, along with other 14 members of Parliament, is to hold all ministers accountable. So we often hear that government has no money. And I'm standing here through you, Madam Chair, to hold the minister accountable when it comes to spending the people's money. Minister Brugge, through you, Madam Chair, should report on the financial impact, the impact on the taxpayers, the impact of completion date, etc. Madam Chair, I've listened to the presentation, and I feel I'm of the sentiments that the minister is reporting, and I might be wrong, but that's my sentiments, that he's reporting as if he is a contractor. Madam Chair, I don't have any questions right now in round one. But I want everyone to listen and pay keen attention again to the presentations given by ministers. Understand the dynamics that are going out there in our country. I shake hands as well. I greet people as well. I visit people as well. I also execute it as well. And my main thing here in this country, when it comes to Pond Island, the government of St. Maarten, is to execute on each and every one of your behalf. When I stand here, according to MP Duran, I am a representative of everyone, even the minister that is sitting down here, even his staff members and his subordinates. My job is to represent every one of us. But when it comes to the people's money, I am going to watch at every dollar that is spent and how it is spent. Because, just as it was mentioned, we don't have no money. $15,000. $15,000 had to be raised for a track and field team to travel. But grants and all kind of 500,000s and 700,000s are spent elsewhere for whatever seems necessary. Madam Chair, again, when we are here in these meetings, it is clear that our job is one thing. Look at the fine print. I will not be fooled by anybody smiling and greeting. All of those things are nice. But when it comes to the people's money, I stand for justice. I stand for what is due to our countrymen, Madam Chair. And I will continue listening to the rest of my colleagues, Madam Chair, until we reach the second round. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Lewis. Is this the last member of Parliament to speak on the topic? If not, I kindly invite you to please sign the speakers list. We do have another speaker. The other speaker is MP York. MP York, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Once again, good afternoon to all. Madam Chair, in 2019, I was a chaperone to a patient in Colombia. At that time, Colombia, the hospital, broke ground on a new hospital wing. When I went back in 2023 with another loved one as a chaperone, that wing turned in, or that construction, that groundbreaking turned into a 11-story wing, hospital wing, that was already functional in 4 years' time. For those that don't know, I'm a civil engineer by trade, and back at the university, during lectures, the professor would say, the majority of you in this room are going to become different type of engineers in 4 to 6 years. But please know that you won't be the most important person of the project, or most important persons of the project. The professor said at the time that the two most important people of a project, of major projects, not the small ones, but the big ones like what we're discussing today, are the contract managers and the risk managers. Why? It was said that contract language lingers and unidentified risks become detrimental to the project. And seeing that there are different phases in construction, from the initiative phase to the contract phase, the design phase, contract phase, and then the execution phase, there's an important report that is supposed to be submitted around the time of the completion of the contract phase, and that report is named a risk assessment report. Why is that important? Now, Madam Chair, in the minister's explanation, the minister said the most recent settlement was because of design implications and construction complexity, things that they found when it comes to construction complexity. But Madam Chair, these are all things that are supposed to be identified in the risk assessment report that was supposed to be done in 2018. So my question is to the minister, who was the risk manager, or was there a risk manager prior to the contract being signed? And if there was one, I would like to see the report that was submitted by this risk manager. Because all the things I'm hearing now, Madam Chair, through you, had to be identified, a majority of them had to be identified before. Because when I referenced the construction in Colombia of the hospital wing of 11 floors, the minister highlighted 4 reasons for delay, and there were 4 crises. That hospital, that construction also, with the exception of one being Irma, had to deal with 3 of those 4 crises. And that was done still in 4 years' time. Now we're speaking 10 years later, counting windows still. Why do I say the contract manager is one of the most, if not the most important person of the project? It's because right now, Madam Chair, we're still speaking about settlements and not penalties, which means the contract manager of the company, construction company, got one up on St. Martin's contract manager, if we had a contract manager. Because at the same time, Madam Chair, I have yet to hear of a penalty that costs the contractors money and only settlements that cost the country money. Madam Chair, in order to fix a problem or to avoid a problem, you have to be aware that there is a problem. And when I listen to the minister speak through you, and I watched the presentation given, Madam Chair, the way the minister brought the explanation of how we are where we are today pertaining to the delay, I would get the impression that is no big biggie what's going on, and that it's just a mere bump in the road, but we good. That is the impression, Minister, that you gave, at least I speak for myself, you gave me here today. And how can we fix this problem, or avoid the problem, mitigate the problem moving forward, if we're not even acknowledging that there's a problem? And Minister, by acknowledging there's a problem, by no way, shape, form, or fashion are you being blamed, or I'm pointing the blame solely at you, because this project is 10 years old. But at the same time, not acknowledging the problem, silent is consent. So, if I hear on one end, yes, the price went up years ago during the prior term because of inflation, etc., I can understand that a little bit. But if I'm hearing now that the new design, what I know, the new design is smaller than the original design, but yet discovery that we need more steel is one of the reasons why the settlement, the price has gone up, which makes me question the bill of quantities in the beginning, makes me question the reassessment along the line makes me question the risk report that was made in the beginning, if we're still discovering how much steel we need. And how do we need more steel for a smaller building? Which leads me to the following question. I would like the minister, if he cannot show the design, can the minister, if he can show the design of the first initial design compared to the design what it has become today, after all of the renegotiations? And I would like to know how many floors of a building did the initial design have? So after the first contract that was signed, and the amount of square footage as well of the initial design compared to the design and the product, what the people of St. Maarten are getting today. Because if we're saying we're still discovering we need to buy more steel, and the square footage is significantly smaller, makes me question what did that contract manager of St. Maarten or that risk manager of St. Maarten agree to years ago. Because again, contract language lingers and unidentified risks turn detrimental. Moving on, Minister, through you, Madam Chair, the Minister stated that the final floor will be complete at the 26th of April 2026. I would like, maybe it's a rhetorical question, but I would like to ask the Minister if he's aware that that's in 3 weeks' time. And what exactly constitutes completion? I would also like to know, Madam Chair, through you, what is the total sum, if the Minister can give a breakdown, of the settlement costs of what it has cost the country over the years, of all the added sums of money that has been needed for this project? And lastly, about the construction of the building, the Minister said that himself, and by extension of him, the board of the hospital are open to have a closed-door meeting on the topic. Now, Madam Chair, we just had we're having a meeting about the construction of the hospital, the general hospital. We haven't even spoken on, and the minister hasn't even shared with us, the crux of the whole meeting is how much it's going to cost us. What is the rumored sum? If it's a rumor, if it's the truth, what is the sum of the amount of money that is being asked of today? I understand from the minister that that's being negotiated now by the board of the hospital and that they're willing to discuss it in a closed-door meeting. I'm not a proponent of closed-door meeting, seeing that this has to do with taxpayers' money. But at the end of the day, even if the closed-door meeting were to happen, I would like to ask the minister, for you, Madam Chair, don't waste our time with a closed-door meeting if it's going to be held, because, Madam Chair, if that closed-door meeting is reminiscent to the closed-door meeting we had with the fire department the other day, not with the fire department, or with the Prime Minister and members of the representatives of the fire department, that was a total waste of time, because it was still, everything was still being said to be confidential and can't be spoken on, and people were watching their words during a closed-door meeting. So if that same kind of meeting is going to be held with the board of St. Maarten the hospital, don't waste our time. Moving on to the last point that the minister brought up, his trip to Colombia. Minister, I don't know if you can remember, via you, Madam Chair, upon beginning, taking the seat, I asked you via you, Madam Chair, I asked the minister, what is his plan as it pertains to evaluating the service being rendered in Colombia by the various hospitals? That was the first question I asked the minister. Why? Because I know it was a hot topic, because I'm speaking off of experience and what I know from what goes down there. And the minister, in his presentation again, painted a very rosy picture of he evaluated, the evaluation was done of the quality of care, etc., 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 and I didn't hear anything but positivity. Minister, again, how can a problem be fixed if it's not being acknowledged? Yes, the service in Colombia, majority is well and is great, but there are also some bad apples down there. When I say bad apples, I'm referring to hospitals. And it cannot be, Minister, that right now, out there, in the general population, when certain people speaking to their loved ones saying, I'm going to X hospital in Colombia to be taken care of, is being told to them, you might as well stay here and suck salt if you're going to that hospital. And yet, the minister is saying he evaluated the care in Colombia, and I didn't even hear, oh, a red flag came up and we're delving into it, we'll hear the information at a later date. I didn't hear none of that, so it would seem as if everything is fine. And Minister, it is not. It is not. So, speaking on this evaluation, I would like to know how many patients were part of this evaluation. I would also like to know how many chaperones were part of this evaluation, because a lot of things the patients don't even know. How many chaperones were part of this evaluation? Aside from that, how many complaints have been registered at SZV since 2018 about the care in Colombia? And I'm saying Colombia, I don't want to single out any particular hospital, but the minister understands what I'm talking about. So, Madam Chair, again, the minister is here, and I understand from his seat, the minister has to keep some type of calm and all those type of things, but at the same time, minister, you got to keep it real too. And if a spade is a spade, if you're coming to Parliament, I would like, if I didn't have this information, to blindly believe what you are saying. And I regret to say that the picture that's being painted today, that everything is peaches and cream with the construction, and it's just a minor setback, and basically everything was evaluated in Colombia, and the quality of care is great across the board, that is simply just not true. So, Minister, upon your return, or whenever you decide to give answers to these questions, I would like a realistic side of the situation, or the situations, in order for us to move forward. Because that presentation today is, I understand the reason for it, but it doesn't paint the picture what the people outside are experiencing. And if we are having a meeting like this, and those same patients, or past patients, or current patients, are watching it, they feel unheard, ununderstood, and not taken care of. And we have to bear that in mind as well. And as it pertains to the taxpayers' money, Madam Chair, in closing, we can't be saying one way we don't got $10,000 to give to our athletes. We can't be saying on the other way we ain't got no money to give to buy toilet paper for our schools. We can't say on another way, I don't know, there's no money to give the justice workers or whoever workers their money, and the fire and ambulance workers their money. But at the end of the day, Madam Chair, the minister is acting, or the powers that be are acting as if 20 to 40 million extra for a hospital is chop change. So with that being said, Madam Chair, I'll leave that where it is for now until the second round. Thank you.
Thank you, MP York. Is there any other member of Parliament who wishes to speak on the topic? Then I am going to adjourn this meeting briefly. And caucus with the minister. In fact, what I'll do right now, it is 2 minutes before 1:30. I will adjourn until 2 p.m. And in the meantime, I will caucus with the minister, so I'll have an answer when we come back at 2 p.m. This meeting is adjourned until 2 p.m. Meeting adjourned. Members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, in discussing with the minister and also having a brief adjournment, the questions regarding the hospitals, so the previous agenda point number 2 for this meeting, the minister estimates that at least 2 weeks, maybe more, considering that several instances, such as the contractor, the medical center, as well as SZV, would need to be contacted regarding some of the questions posed by members of Parliament. As to the continuation, because we still have another agenda point on this agenda, on this public meeting agenda of Parliament, and I will therefore adjourn until 2:30, next 15 minutes, give or take, and then we come back as to the continuation, how we will continue with that agenda point. So we'll adjourn now for 15 minutes until 2:30. Meeting adjourned. Members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome back to this public meeting of Parliament, public meeting number 15. We are at agenda point number 3 after having adjourned agenda point number 2, which was the agenda point on the General Hospital. And the Minister of V.S.A. provided a presentation. On that point, members were then allowed the opportunity to ask questions, which they did, and we need to schedule the continuation of that agenda point in approximately 2 to 3 weeks based on the estimation of the minister. That would then bring us to agenda point number 3. Agenda point number 3 reads, Deliberations with the Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labor addressing the recent integrity-related allegations within the ministry, including the request for an investigation by the Integrity Chamber. This is registered on the IS 919 and dated April the 2nd, 2026. The minister has indicated being ready to start with a presentation on the matter, and then to be able to continue to adjourn and then continue either later this afternoon or maybe even tomorrow. This is not possible, not given the minister's presentation, but given the traveling of members of Parliament as of tomorrow, and thus with the minister's consent, this agenda point will be rescheduled until further notice in consultation with the minister himself. I see MP Erin. MP Erin, you wish to make a point that would be a point of? You have a proposal of order to make, MP Erin? Sure, and your proposal is?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I believe that, the Presidium, yourself, are in charge of scheduling meetings. But I believe, given the fact that what we've seen play out in the public between the Prime Minister and the Minister of VSR, et cetera, I can't believe that members of Parliament today would want to allow this to continue playing out for the next 2 or 3 weeks. Again, the third agenda, the meeting with the Minister of Finance, that can be postponed, and we could continue, allow the minister to do this presentation, and allow us to continue the meeting. That's my proposal order. Let the members decide which meeting they think is important or not, and continue. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, MP Erin. Allow me to react to your proposal of order and your assertion. This meeting or this agenda point is not being adjourned because of the 3 o'clock meeting. You did not hear me say that. In fact, we got an indication from the Minister of Finance that she would be okay, for the lack of a better word, to postpone that meeting. However, given what the minister indicated is why I have decided not to get a presentation and then wait for the continuation, but rather to wrap it all together. And I hope it wouldn't be in the next 2 to 3 weeks that we then will have this agenda point and the presentation by the minister and the continuation on the agenda point. I see MP Ottley, you have a proposal of order, and your proposal being?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, when you made your statement of what the minister indicated, I saw a little baffling and people not aware, but we, as members of Parliament, were not clear as to what the minister indicated. I'd like to make it clear that when we were members of Parliament, I guess new chair, new rules, of course, it was stated that the minister answers to Parliament. Nothing trumps Parliament but that. However, Madam Chair, I would like to propose then, if such be the case, for the minister to reconsider and let us handle what we can handle or be put to a vote. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, let's get this matter going, and we have a proposal which cannot really include adjourning or postponing the 3 o'clock meeting because that is not part of the equation, but we will put to the floor the question whether the minister will be allowed to come back, make his presentation, and the meeting will then continue on this agenda point. That is what is being put to the floor at this time. I see, oh, the Secretary General is noting to make sure what it is that we are actually being asked to vote on. We had a proposal of order which is actually continue with this agenda point at this time. Members of Parliament, we will put to a vote at this time the proposal launched that this meeting continue with agenda point number 3 at this time. That's what we're voting on. I have explained the proposal by the minister, and my suggestion was to put off the agenda point until as quickly and as soon as we can come back. A member proposed based on the 3 o'clock meeting, which I said is not an issue at this time, but the member has proposed to continue the meeting now with agenda point number 3. So members, just to make sure what the question or the proposal is on which we will be voting. The proposal is, notwithstanding the position that I outlined of the minister, the proposal is to continue with agenda point number 3 at this time. And we have the a clarification, MP. You have a. It's only if you don't understand what we are putting to vote. Okay. So what don't you understand, MP Lacroes? You may explain.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Madam Chair Lady, so are we saying that we're going to continue with point 3 now and past 3 o'clock? Is the meeting for 3 o'clock cancelled, rescheduled, or are we going to stop at 3 o'clock?
No. What we're going to do, we're going to vote whether agenda point number 3 right now will continue today. Whether it will start and continue. That's one. And in the meantime, we probably will cancel the 3 o'clock meeting. Okay. Okay?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So we're voting. We're not voting on canceling 3 o'clock. The question is, the proposal from a member of Parliament was to continue the meeting, agenda point number 3, today, the 7th of April, at 20 before 3, and yes or no, will we continue with agenda point number 3 at this time? And then I've explained about the meeting at 3 p.m. So, do we require a hoofdelijke stemming? I hear hoofdelijke stemming. We'll decide where we get So wasn't me cut me. We start with number 3.
MP Irian. To continue the meeting.
MP, please, for or against?
So for continuing the meeting.
Zonder toevoeging.
MP Jansen-Webster.
Against.
MP Kotai. Against. MP La Vega. MP Lacroes.
For.
MP Lewis.
For.
MP Myers.
Against.
MP Ottley. For. MP Peterson. MP De Wever.
Against.
MP Wever. MP York.
For.
MP Duran. Chair Lady Westcott Williams.
Against. The proposal to continue with agenda point number 3 of this meeting at this time is rejected, 7 members being against the continuation of this agenda point and 6 members being for. Therefore, this agenda point, like agenda point number 2, will be postponed because we haven't started it until further notice. This meeting of Parliament is hereby adjourned.